Hello folks. So as you'll understand shortly, this is not going to be one of those happy, jolly videos of me going out into a town and discovering all the wonders of the location we're in. This is more going to be an educational video more than anything else. So sorry that I can't be my usual chipper mood, but I think this is important to visit here around this time especially. So given the date, September 7th, 2021, we are just a few days removed of the 20th anniversary of the September 11th attack. We're standing here not in New York City where the World Trade Center was attacked, nor are we in Washington, D.C., where the Pentagon was also attacked. We are in a very rural county of Pennsylvania, Somerset County, near the towns of Shanksville, Lambertsville, and Stoystown, to name a few. Why are we here in this barren area of nothing but forests and pastures? Given the content of what's going to be of this video, you can either have a couple options. You can just go to the next video and I'll be as chipper as ever, or you can watch this video and learn a bit about the parts of September 11th that weren't so known about, or at least not so highlighted in American culture. So yeah, I feel like it's very important to highlight this event, Flight 93. On the morning of September 11th, 2001, almost 20 years ago, the United States was dealt a large terror attack, killing about 3,000 Americans in the process. Probably more. If you live in America, if you are an American, you probably know about this attack. You might have even lived through that morning of September 11th. This attack was aimed to provoke fear in America. Its targets were, most famously, the World Trade Center, or more commonly known as the Twin Towers. The first two planes that morning hit those towers, and that's when Americans knew that this was not just some accident. This was an attack. Not since Pearl Harbor was there as deadly an attack upon the United States. But the attack was more than just those Twin Towers. It was meant to be a series of attacks. The Twin Towers were hit because at that point, that was that major symbol of American economic power. The next attack was upon the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and that was meant as an attack on America's militaristic power. After that third plane hit the Pentagon, a fourth plane is thought to have been aimed at the U.S. Capitol, the grand symbol of America's governmental power. Luckily, it didn't hit the U.S. Capitol, but that doesn't mean a tragedy didn't occur in that aspect. Flight 93 was any old domestic flight. It took off in Newark, New Jersey, right next to New York City, and was scheduled to land in San Francisco. The morning of, people thought of it as any old flight. People had their general lives to live and just needing to get to San Francisco. That was it. The passengers and crew were on their way to their destination. They were about a little less than an hour into their flight when the plane was hijacked. The thing that separates this flight from the previous three was that this flight was the only hijacked flight on September 11th that did not reach its intended destination from the view of the hijackers. It did not hit the U.S. Capitol as intended. And that's because of what's speculated to be an act of heroism by the passengers and crew, a struggle against the hijackers to regain control of the plane at risk of their own lives. Although the passengers and the crew were able to subvert the plan of those terrorist hijackers, they did not escape the plane with their lives. The plane crashed right nearby where we are walking, right next to a defunct coal mine, and everyone on board had perished. I think it's safe to say that we've reached the Appalachian Mountains. After all, this is our Appalachian adventure, but right here in the Laurel Highlands, a small part of the Allegheny Mountains, which is a part of the greater Appalachian Mountains. It's very odd to think that some tragedy of huge magnitude could end up happening here. You'd think of such a rural place as a peaceful, tranquil place where nothing bad can really happen. but tragedy did happen. What we can only do as people are pay respects to the tragedies that have occurred in our histories. And that's why nowadays there is this Flight 93 National Memorial, so people can pay their respects to a tragedy which should never have happened. Walking through a place like this, that's so solemn and quiet, and then you see the names of the people whose fate was decided by that plane crash, it really hits you hard. Like, these were just everyday people who wanted to live their lives, continue their lives, and they were just at the wrong place at the wrong time. This is the field in which the plane crash happened, and thanks to donations from everybody around the country and around the world, this memorial has been made and the site of the crash has been preserved for people of all walks to pay their respects. I think the most disheartening fact of this whole tragedy is that there is evidence that almost all of the passengers aboard made calls to their family, sort of knowing that their fate was sealed, that they were going to die on this plane one way or another. I think it's very easy to politicize a tragedy, a situation like this, especially on the eve of its anniversary, but I'm sure you all get enough politics in one day. Here on the Coverage Project, I want to dedicate my videos to my love of culture, and I think politics can really stay out of these videos. Nothing has to be all about politics. I like to talk about culture. The reason I came here was to really highlight the importance that this tragedy has on the American people. Now, I know this video is different from most of the jolly videos we have, but here on the Coverage Project, I like to say that we cover both the good and the bad. We cover everything. And so I think it's very important that we come here to a place not all Americans really know about. Everybody knows about the Twin Towers and maybe even the Pentagon, but less people really know about Flight 93. And I want to be the person to cover Flight 93 as we approach the anniversary of 9/11. And I know, by the time you see it, it'll be months later. But just imagine that it is September 7th, 2021 as I walk around here at the Flight 93 National Memorial today. Well, with all that said and covered, I want to transition to a more geographical discussion a little bit. Do you think of Pennsylvania as a state of Greater Appalachia? I mean, technically it is, but do you think of Pennsylvania as one of those Appalachian states? I frankly don't. And so for that reason, I'm glad we got to cover Pennsylvania at least a little bit, because I just don't think of Pennsylvania as a true Appalachian state. I think of Pennsylvania more as a mid-Atlantic state full of colonial history and all that. So I'm glad we got to cover a bit of Pennsylvania on this Appalachian adventure. We're gonna be leaving Pennsylvania though and going down south. So as the days and weeks progress, we'll be getting to see a lot more of true Appalachian country. But yeah, that'll do it, folks. This is Flight 93 National Memorial. So right here in these southern Pennsylvanian meadows, farmland, more travels to come. I will see you at the next location.